Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl, Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the fourth in the golf game with the soon-to-be Toronto Maple Leafs, Karl Bryan. Welcome to the show, Shoots.
Yo. Road Dog, my Toronto Maple Leafs are not looking good. This is an annual thing. Touches okay. For those non-hockey fans, not going to know what we're talking about, but anyways, whatever. Toronto's losing.
You know, the thing I'll just say is they're living up to their Toronto Maple Leafs moniker, so there is that. Yeah.
Well, but it's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say. Am I allowed to say that? In trouble, but they say it's not over until it's over. So
enjoy your next
cranking. You never know. Crazier things have happened.
You know, it is a fact, but yeah, no. Listen, one thing that we wanted to talk about, we talked about it at the pre-show a little bit. You and I talked about it at the pre-show, aka you and I just talking. So that's cool. But there's something that you're kind of passionate about. It's a bit of a PSA here, and I know that it's on your mind and you want to talk about it, and it has to do with all these gambling apps. And it's just, I look at this right now as these are all the old cigarette ads, right? Like this replaced, what was in between?
Yeah.
Anyways, so there, off you go.
Yeah. But Road Dog and I were talking, again, we're hockey guys and we love to talk about hockey. We were talking about that. And like, if you watch you watch hockey, you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, and unfortunately you watch baseball, you watch football, you watch basketball, etc. You're going to see the same thing. But like, we've got like the highest profile individuals in the sport, and they are promoting downloading gambling apps, and then of course they finish it with gamble responsibly. To do. Okay, timestamp this. Okay, go 10 years from today, and there's going to be alarming number of suicides for men, predominantly between the age of 20 to 35, let's say. And we're going to look back and say that it's oh my gosh, what's happening? And I don't understand. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to look back, and not that gambling apps are new, but they're certainly becoming more and more and more popular, to the point now where they're being endorsed. And on the helmets of people playing hockey, getting paid $10 million a year to skate around and shoot the puck, they've got like a gambling app on the side of their helmet. And I see on the boards, they've got, the gambling apps getting advertised there. And it just drives me a little bit nuts. If you know, my brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old, so I know a thing or two about it, more than frankly I would like to. And let me tell you that the number one, the addiction that leads to the most suicide is gambling. And that if that surprises you, there's a good reason, because gambling, when somebody's a meth addict, you can see it. When somebody's an alcoholic, you can see it. When somebody's a gambling addict, you can't really see it. So it's one of those ones that is kept in the dark a little bit, significant deal. Everybody's like, oh my heavens. So anyways, we were just chatting about that. And again, nothing more, nothing less, and potentially completely out of the left field for what we should be talking about on Business Coaching Secrets. But I don't know. We all have a voice. I have, a voice, and you have a voice, and Road Dogs have a voice. And I don't know. This is just not something that I can get behind in any way, shape, or form. I cannot see how having a gambling app on, if you just think about your phone and how addictive that thing is, and checking the weather and checking your stocks and checking your emails, etc. And then you take a gambling app and put it on there to an impressionable, 16-year-old, 18-year-old, 22-year-old, and all of a sudden it gets a little bit worse, a little bit worse. I don't know. I just can't see how it doesn't go in the wrong direction. And it horrifies me that the highest profile athletes and legends of the sport, who I know are getting paid incredibly huge amounts of money to promote this stuff, but I can't. It's a little bit on the frustrating side, and I just can't get behind it. And that's my opinion. So anybody out there building a gambling app, I apologize, but I will not be supporting it in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know, dude. I don't know what else to say, but it's a little disappointing.
Do you find when it comes to the ethical type stuff, we could leeway this into business coaching in terms of how people sell? How do you feel about just the people's approaches? Do you think that there's a lot of coaching, not necessarily business coaches, but coaching in general, that gets kind of sold in sort of a misleading way as well? Like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, look, there's no question. There's no question. I mean, it's you know what I mean? Like you got to be a little bit careful with that upfront promise. That being said, I can tell you that the average business owner is operating at such a pathetic level that if you have any talents and any wherewithal and any intestinal fortitude at all, you can show up and make a dramatic impact on a business pretty darn quickly, and certainly over the long haul. So the problem is that what happens is that, the results don't tend to happen quickly, and then the business coach gets a little bit wobbly, and then guess what? The client gets a little bit wobbly. The relationship ends, and they never have the chance to see it through. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that one. There is no doubt that some people are making some grandiose promises that they should be watering down a little bit. But at the same time, I can tell you that the average business owner is, it's pretty darn simple to sit down with them and create a framework of a very, impressive offer if both parties follow through. But that's where the hole is, when the coach lacks the confidence. Like, again, it's mental fortitude. It's like when your mental toughness when your client wants to cancel, right? Like, do you stand up or do you stand down? And if you really, really believe in what you're doing and what you got and the potential and the client and your abilities and the business that you sold into business coaching, you should be standing up in that moment, not standing down. And when you stand down, then you don't have the opportunity to see it through. And when you stand up, you do, and then you have you end up presumably with a really happy client. You're a happy business coach, and it works well. But intestinal fortitude, man. You don't have Look, here it is. If you don't have intestinal fortitude, don't be making that grandiose promise that we know the separation, the divorce, the anxiety, the depression, the timing, the death in the family, whatever comes, which tends to happen. You know what I mean? You got to push over the top of that and get to the result. So do it with some intestinal fortitude. And then I think those upfront offers become a little bit more realistic. That's my answer, Shoots.
So, okay, that sounds to me like a must-have, right? In terms of mental toughness, that sort of the internal fortitude to keep going. What else do you think, Karl? Give me another must-have for a business coach to succeed.
Must have emotional intelligence. Kind of touched on that. It hurts 10 times as much to lose a client than, the excitement of getting one. Just like it hurts 10 times more to lose money in the stock market or in real estate or something we're talking about, poker or gambling. It hurts more to lose it than the excitement of to gain it. Ask any professional poker player, they'll be able to tell you that big time. So the staying power wins. Again, much like I said a minute ago, like that intestinal fortitude. And remember, like when you're operating from a negative mental position, okay, translation, you're depressed, you're pissed off, things aren't going the way that you wanted, right? You're riding the roller coaster and you're kind of you're on the dip and not the exciting ride up. You're going to see obstacles and roadblocks, right? So from a negative mental position, you see obstacles and roadblocks. You do not see the opportunities and the pathway when you're stuck in that negative framework, right? When you're in a positive, strong mental standpoint or stance, right? Like stance, think of standing, like stand up, like, Superman, hands on hips, shoulders back, and you will literally, with 100% certainty, do that for 30 seconds, and you will feel it within 5, but do it for 30 seconds, and you will be in a significantly stronger mental and physical state, right? Well, from that strong mental state, you're going to see a path towards the end goal. From the negative one, again, you're going to be staring at the speed bump, at the obstacle, right? But maybe back to maybe emotional intelligence. I said a minute ago, right? Like your mental toughness is how you respond when somebody wants to cancel, right? You stand up or you stand down, you let them cancel, or you fight for the relationship and the future that you see and your talents and their talents, and yeah, like you fight for the future, right? Or at Road Dog, we've talked about it I believe it was last week or the week before, but when you do a local live event and only 2 people show up, what do? Do you stand up or do you stand down? Do you all of a sudden do a significantly reduced version of your presentation? Like, do you get mad? Do you get sad? Do you look for reasons to advance or do you look for reasons to retreat? Right? Comes back to that resilience, right? Criticism, by the way, like if you have like 10 people, 10 people, 10 people, 10 people, 10 people, and you only wanted 10 people at your events, and then all of a sudden only 2 people show up, you're not going to be fussed about it if you've had 10 people 5 weeks in a row. If it's your first event and only 2 people show up, or it's your second event and only 2 people showed up at the first one and only 2 people at the second one, it might feel it a little bit more, right? So again, it comes back to that criticism doesn't bother you unless there's an element, you feel an element of truth within it, right? Like someone could call me fat, and like I got a few extra pounds on me, right? But like I most certainly do not identify as a fat individual, right? So the criticism just doesn't land, right? It doesn't land. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just not a, it's just a, a whatever. But I would just say as a must-have, maybe you got to go to Old Faithful, and it's the little red arrow, you are here, and then answer that question with definitiveness. And I feel like I almost have to apologize for saying this because it might be a little bit on the broken record side, but I just don't, there's nothing more important that you can do than establishing those 2 points, right? Like if you're in an airplane or a car and you want to get from LA to New York, what do you got to do? You've got to, LA, little red arrow, you are here. And then New York, where I want to go, clearly defined, easy to get to, you just need a GPS. And there will be the landslide, and there will be the accident, there will be the detour, and there will be the storm. But at the end of the day, definitive purpose, if you know you need to get there and you need to get there by a specific date, you comfortably will. And ironically enough, last night I watched the movie Due Date. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Robert Downey Jr. and Zach, say his last name, but oh my heavens, is that a funny movie? But anyways, at the end of the day, he ended up on the no-fly list, right? In a very strange, whatever dynamic situation on the airplane. But he knew where he needed to get to, and yeah, he jumped in the car, and then they ended up there, right? Little red arrow, you are here, and then establishing where you want to go. And little red arrow, like, are you analytical? Okay, well, acknowledge that. Are you well networked and you know a lot of people? You're really, you're that individual that everybody knows and you know everybody? Okay, use that to your strength. Little red arrow, acknowledge that. Are you young? Are you old? Are you inexperienced? Are you experienced? Are you good on the computer? Are you bad on the computer? Are you good at social media? Are you bad at social media? Are you good at accounting? Are you bad at accounting and don't even understand it? Like little red arrow, you are here understanding your strengths. Because again, you're going to build off of your strengths. You're not going to build off of your weaknesses. So establishing that LA, New York metaphor, I think is this, it's really important with understanding. Like it's one thing to say emotional intelligence. It's also another thing to just be real and honest. And, you're here. But I will tell you this, a must have, doing it all yourself long-term as a business coach is a terrible plan. Like, so there's only 3 baskets in coaching. You got the lead generation basket. You've got the conversion basket, you've got the fulfillment basket, right? Doing all of those long-term, short-term, you're probably in a position where, look, you got to go learn it, you got to go do it. But long-term, you don't want to be doing all of those, right? And remember, like as a frame, you want your marketing to impact 10 times as many people as your coaching ever could, right? So again, example, we've talked about this in the past, but we'll talk about it again in the future. If you're doing local live events and you're putting 10 to 25 people in a room, let's just assume 25 people, all 25 are not going to buy from you, right? If you close 5 of them, you'll be doing well. That's 20 people that didn't buy. You're impacting more people than you're actually selling your coaching to. Like, that's what you want to be thinking about. It's like, like my daily email, doing this podcast, a lot of our marketing, it's designed to, educate people. And guess what? There's a certain percentage that fall out the bottom of the funnel and end up buying, right? It's the business coaches, the emotional intelligence, the business coaches that don't succeed, shoots, right? It's the ones, it's like a 90-day experiment, right? It's like, oh, we'll see how it's going in 90 days and then we'll take it from there. You've got to go all in. This is not business coaching is not, business consulting, business coaching, this career consulting is not a 90-day experiment. It's your career. Right? So it comes back to psychology, intestinal fortitude, like the way that you opened. It's the Rocky Balboa story, right? He sucked at the beginning and he was amazing at the end. It's Nelson Mandela. It's Jackie Robinson breaking breaking through in baseball. It's Oprah with her talk show. It's Sam Walton in Walmart. You never read the book Made in America. It's Made in America should be a must read, in my opinion, for yourself and your clients. But fabulous, fabulous book. But bottom line is when you see what he overcame to build Walmart, impressive isn't it? It's not nearly a strong enough word. Like, it's just mind blowing over many decades to do, right? But it's very much like, you could equate it to the Rocky Balboa story. That ended in a wild and impressive way. Speaking of which, I read the Elon Musk. Actually, I'm going through it a second time now, but the Elon Musk autobiography by Walter Isaacson. Again, oh my heavens! Like, you just talk about inspiring and ruthless. And when you read it, I mean, the guy's the richest man in the world, and he's in the fetal position underneath the desk, right? Like, it's just mind blowing. But at the end of the day, it's Sam Walton, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, Jobs, you name it. I mean, it is a roller coaster. It is a very bumpy path. Again, Rocky Balboa story, right? And then actually, so like when you become a client at focus.com, one of the first things you're going to end up seeing is like a video where I talk about Mel Fisher. Basic nutshell, you may or may not know the story. Very famous one, made a movie about the guy, but he took something like 17 years to find $100 million treasure off the Florida Keys, right? Most people won't spend 17 minutes, 17 days, 17 weeks, 17 months without getting the result that you want. Let's face it, most people would pack it in. And this guy spent 17 years. And he lost family members, he lost his wife, he lost debatably his sanity at different times, right? Lost a child. But the bottom line is he had 3 core beliefs. And those core beliefs, one, is it there? 2, one, is it there? Number 2, is he going to be the guy that's going to be able to find it? And then number 3, will it be worth it? The secret ingredient, go all in, is number 3. Will it be worth it? You would never get the 17 years of trying to find this treasure off the Florida Keys if you weren't damned and determined and absolute about the fact that, again, it is there. Otherwise, you would quit. Are you going to be the one that's going to be able to find it? Is somebody else going to beat you to it? And will it be worth it? Right? So business coaching is not a 90-day experiment. It's something, it's a career. It's something to go all in on. Right? And then, so like when you crack it, you guys have heard, we've interviewed, different coaches at different times and worked with us. And no doubt, some, success stories. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of them. But like if you were able to make, 100 grand, 250 grand, 500 grand a year, net. And you were able to call your own shots, watch TV when you wanted, watch your kids grow up, drive your kids to school if you so choose, hang out with your grandkids, go on a trip, work from Mexico, take a 1 month holiday on an island, or do whatever it is. I don't know. What does success look like to you? Or what does that dream success look like for you, that dream career? When you frame it up, and I do encourage you to very clearly New York it, clearly define what that does look like. I would dare say that if you could get there making 250 grand a year, not working super duper hard, learning all the time, having a great impact, and you could have that kind of lifestyle that I just described, I would dare say you get that a resounding yes. Well, again, it will be worth it, but you got to align. Like I sent out an email not long ago, Road Dog, and it was like about priorities, right? And to be wealthy, you got needs. Secondly, you got investments. And then thirdly, you got wants, right? So needs, investment, wants. Nobody listening is going to be surprised by that list. But if you look at your own behavior, your client's behavior, maybe your past behavior, and maybe you, of course, corrected. But if you look at the business owner that you're trying to impact, you are going to find that they have got their wants come first, right? Or certainly second. Their investments don't even make it into the top 10, and it's number 2 on the list. But again, they got their wants, and that's the what I mean. It's buying the new car, it's buying the depreciating asset, and I know it's sexy, right? But it normally, what I mean. It's like that feedback loop. It's the business coach that goes from 100 grand to 500 grand a year. You start flying first class and buys all the fancy stuff, flying private, whatever, spending all the money. Take the extra money and feed it back into your company. Hire somebody, build product, spend money on advertising, etc. But that's just not normally what they tend to do. And that would be an investment. Hiring a staff member for an entrepreneur is an investment. Putting money into real estate is an investment. Putting money into the stock market is an investment. But taking time, energy, and money and building yourself a course, building yourself a product in and around your company, that would be an investment as well. And I think that's where folks should be spending their money. But you don't get that, you put money in the stock market, you don't get that dopamine hit. When you buy the new car, you get that new car smell and everybody commenting, right? So anyway, shoots a little bit maybe longer than you're looking for there, but I would just say, the ability to manage emotions. And it's the same in relationships. It's the same in business. It's the same in marketing. It's the same in investing. It's absolutely the same when you're competing in sport. We talked about it again. You just can't, you got to go to the final whistle. The Vancouver Canucks were just down 2 goals in the final 2 minutes of the game, and they came back and scored 2 and then won in overtime. The odds on anything that would resemble a gambling app there would be 0.00000. Like the percentages would just be insane. There's just no chance. But they did. But you got to go to the final whistle, right? And that is an example of the way that I would like to see business coaches approaching. It's similar to what the way the first question you asked me about, putting out a big promise. And it's just like, are you willing to fulfill on the damn promise? And if you are, and you're willing to have that feedback loop and circle back and do some hard work, potentially for free, by the way, because you got to fulfill on that big promise, I think you should be okay with that. Anyways, again, so looking for reasons to advance rather than retreat, and just create that big picture, which again, we talked a lot about last week. Create that big picture that really inspires you, so you get in a positive state of mind, a positive frame, so that you go over the speed bumps, you get through the snowstorm, and you keep going to get that end goal to get to New York. So must have is emotional intelligence, and just to manage those emotions. What do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, it's good. I want to go a little deeper and bring it back to, with your all in, tie it back to business coaching. But before we go there, I just wanted to ask you if, in regards to a specific limiting belief, and because this is something that I've wrestled with a lot, and I think it goes back to my financial planning days, where it's just like, I want to build a business of X number of clients, and that's it. And so it's just sort of, it's like when I hit 50, 100, whatever it is, right? Like that's all I want. I only want to serve that because then I have the life and the balance that I want and need and blah, blah, blah. I'm starting to realize that that's a bit of a limiting belief, and just because I'm listening to an audiobook right now, and it's talking about the only reason you think that way is because you think that you need to do it all yourself. And as you said, there's a lack of automation, that you're not thinking big enough. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a massive limiting belief though? Like when people are like, once I get 20 coaching clients, I'm good. That's all I need.
Yes, times absolutely. And I think it's one of those ones like what you I think sounds like discovered, but like it's one you didn't realize was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like this, you had this fence around you. You don't even realize you're playing with this number of 100 with a hard not interested in going above that, right? I would answer with this little, the way that you literally talked yourself through it, right? I think that was fabulous. Just product. You want to go from 10 people to 100. Product over service. If you want to go 100 people to 1,000 people, product over service. Got to be thinking product, product, product if you really want to bust through that limiting belief that you're describing. Because at some stage, again, more staff, more staff, more staff, I feel like the person that you're describing, what happens, like more staff, more staff, more staff, how does that story end generally, right? We know that, scaling it back, lots of management. Because you introduce me to a $10 million company or above, I'll introduce you to an HR company, right? Just it all becomes about hiring and managing staff. So that's my, and maybe I'll just finish again, growth versus scale, something we've touched on a lot. But when I've got an insane amount of feedback when I have said this, and that this was a bit of a needle mover for them in terms of understanding. Growth is when your company grows and your expenses come with it. And sure, your margins can spread and you can make a little bit more money, but as you make more money, your expenses also come up. Scale is when your company grows, but your expenses stay fundamentally the same, right? So a real simple example is think of Facebook. They could put in 100,000 people today, and they would never have to hire a new person. I mean, nobody would even, Like they wouldn't even notice or acknowledge it. It would just be like a thing. Oh, wow, we had a good day on, on new member, new, whatever they call them, new profiles. Like, hire anybody. So that's scale. So product over service issues is something that might help the person that resonates, that 100 client framework. Make sense?
Yeah, completely. So now let's go back to the other one, because you talked about the going all in, and I want to bring it back specifically, what that core belief of going all in is specifically for a business coach. Like, let's dial that in if we can.
Yeah. Look, I think you said it, like going all in, like there's your stance. Okay? Like, poker, we should be using gambling metaphors here. But anyway, so like going all in, sliding the chips into the middle. You know what I mean? Like that's the way you got to approach it. You know what I mean? Like again, if you just approach it like a 90-day experiment, probably not going to go well. The ultimate stance is hunger. I would invite you, because a new problem is that you accomplish your goal, actually very similar to what you just said a minute ago. Like you get to 100 grand or the 100 clients or the 200 grand or the $150,000 net. Whatever your, $500,000 net, $1 million, of course, right? Hitting seven figures, everybody wants that, right? But again, people think of it in gross. You should be thinking of it as net. A horrible goal. When you meet somebody and they say, I want to make $1 million this year, it's just a horrible, horrible goal. The reason is because they can accomplish their goal and hit seven figures and like lose money, or only a small amount of money. But like, what's cool is going from 250 to 500, 500 to 750, 750 to $1 million, and maintaining your margins, if not increasing the spread. Think of the scale conversation. That's cool, right? $1 million is, what do they say in Social Network? Love that movie. $1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? He says, what? It was $1 billion, right? So, yeah, just thinking, you know what I mean? Like net, I want to talk about how much you're keeping. And I know that sounds somewhat trite and platitudinal to the audience, to you guys, but I don't know, sometimes again, the teacher needs to be taught. You look at your, you know what I mean? Or how much time are you spending on, keeping it in the margins? But the ultimate stance is hunger. So Federer, he got to a certain level, had made more money than he could ever spend in 3 lifetimes. And at 5 a.m., he was up hitting tennis balls. And Serena Williams was the exact same. Uber famous, the greatest, I think nobody's going to debate that she's the greatest female tennis player of all time. And towards the end of her career, she had a kid and everything else. And guess what? She's out there pounding the ball at 3 a.m., 5 a.m., training. It's the old Kobe Bryant, won his championships, accomplished, probably more than he had realized. If he was honest with himself, realized he was going to set out, but what? Kept pushing. Jordan, my God, you watch this documentary, the guy's hiding in a hotel room with a cigar, because every time he goes outside, he just gets mauled, right? Like, what an existence. But again, at the end of the day, he had hunger to be the greatest of all time. But remember, Jordan didn't compete against the Will Chamberlains and the Magic Johnson. Who did he compete with? He competed with himself yesterday, right? So hunger. Maybe another good example of that is I love this, right? When I've got a dynamic of this happening in my own world right now, right? But the coach closes a deal, and let's just say they get that big contract and the big check, and let's just call it $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year, and they get paid the 24 grand up front, right? They get the check, it hits their bank account. Okay, what do they do? Do they take their foot off the gas? Do they go in neutral, or do they hit it? And let me tell you, if you want to put yourself in the Serena, Federer, Jordan, Schumacher, Brady, Oprah conversation, guess what you got to do? That $24,000 check, and it might be significantly bigger, and it might be significantly smaller, but what you got to do is you got to hit the gas pedal, right? So again, it's going all in, but not only going all in, but like bringing up that inner hunger and desire and resourcefulness, right? And by the way, again, just come back to the 4K Mel Fisher, right? Going all in, Mel Fisher, 100 million, whatever the number, I think it's more than that, $100 million treasure off the Florida Keys. Here's my question for the business coach listening. Are the business owners out there? Yes or no? Do you really believe it? Do you? And I know what you're gonna say, but I want to go to your gut right now. Like, are they there? Right? And surely you know that they are, but you know what I mean? Be honest. And by the way, drum up that fire. And then here's the next question. Are you going to work hard enough, build enough trust, you know what I mean? That work that is required to find them. Are you going to be the person that is going to do the work, go to the events, run the events, shake the hands, kiss the babies? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. Are you going to be the individual that is going to go and make that happen? Right? Again, he believed that it was there. He was going to be the one that was going to find the treasure. Are you going to be the one that's going to move the chiropractor, move the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker? Right? And again, if you do that work, my question is, do you believe that it is going to be worth it? Right? And again, I don't want to answer you give me consciously, but I want to talk to your stomach. I want to talk to your gut. I want to talk to your soul. And that's, I've got friends who I went into business coaching and I was pretty young to be going into it, but I have friends way, way back when, and then they would tell me this, where they told somebody that I became a business coach. And the person that they told, who knew me, pretty well, but I was not involved in the conversation, they said, "Oh, wow, that's perfect for you." Right? And all I'm saying there is that it just made sense that I went into business coaching. And the day that I went into business coaching, not even the day, I still remember I was on a date with a gal and she mentioned the words business coaching. I said, stop, 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 stop. I said, what? And she said, so what business coaching? Honest to goodness, true story. I've talked about this loosely at different times, but I stopped. I ended the date early. I didn't tell her why. I went home and I did not sleep that night. And I researched business coaching all night, did not sleep. True story. Okay, translation, it was in my gut. You know what I mean? Like, this is just what I was meant to do. This is what I was supposed to be doing. From that second on that date, I had never done anything else. I had a business at the time, sold my interest in the business, and I just went all in on this. So forget me. What about you? You know what I mean? So again, and by the way, this is something, that hunger. Don't think, Tom Brady, the first time he picked up the football, that he was just an absolute natural and he knew that he was going to kill it, to do. That's a chance. Maybe, you're just gifted. You got at it straight away. Maybe that's not the case, but it is something that can be built up. Remember, don't fall in love with the money and don't fall in love with the process. Fall in love with going to the networking group. Fall in love with giving your elevator pitch and delivering value. Fall in love with having that quiet 5-minute conversation with the individual business owner and really moving the needle for them. Fall in love with the process of convincing them to go from that to the simulator. We have a profit acceleration simulator. Like, fall in love with the process of convincing that individual to go to the simulator. Then fall in love with taking them from the simulator to the software, and from the software to getting them to the first call. And then fall in love with the process of taking them from the first call and, nailing down, the LA, New York, really identifying where are they at, little red arrow, you are here, and then identifying that New York, what they want, and really crystallizing it, helping them and accepting that they're not going to get it straight away. And when you ask them what they want, what are they going to answer with, what they don't want, and accepting all those things and fall in love with it versus get frustrated, right? Like that. That's the going all in. That's the Mel Fisher. That's what's going to take you 17 years into this. You know what I mean? Metaphorically, I don't think anybody's going to need to wait 17 years by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what I mean? Like, getting into 17 years and sacrificing because it's going to be worth it, because you really want it. You know what I mean? And when you want something bad enough, you know that you'll pay the price. And you'll accept that delayed gratification. Remember, those calls you make today and the networking group you go today and the event that you have today, a lot of the time you're not going to feel the effects for 90 days, 121 days. It might be 6 months. In many cases, it's 18 months down the track before that person circles back into your world and becomes your referral partner, becomes your highest paying client, etc. You just gotta go all in. And then somebody's listening, they're like, yeah, but I don't have any money. I can't wait. You got no money. You got more hunger. Okay, that's a positive. You got no education. Okay, well, you're more street smart. You're too young. That was the case that I had. I mean, I remember when I got gray hair, I got excited, right? Because forget, trying to go out to a bar or something. I was more thinking about, getting coaching clients. And I figured if I had a little bit of gray hair in my head, they might take me seriously. Little did I know that, again, 1, 2, 3 gray hairs did not define wisdom the way that I thought that they may think it, perceive it to be. But at the end of the day, that's where I was at. You know what I mean? But I gave, I was young, so I had a fresh perspective. I was good at things that they weren't good at. You know what I mean? And by the way, you're on the other side of it where you got, less hair and more gray hair. You're defining yourself as old. Well, you've got wisdom and you've got that grandfatherly groundedness that you can bring to the table. But that's why, you're gonna go all in, right? And by the way, unrelated, but semi-unrelated note, your greatest weakness is often your greatest strength turned up too loud. You're too good of a salesperson, you'll close deals that you maybe shouldn't have closed, would be an example. You're highly analytical, well, then you're spending too much time farting around on the spreadsheets, right? So your greatest weakness is often your greatest strength turned up too loud. Maybe just thinking about that a little bit as I go through, just different ways that you're going to be framing this out. But the bottom line, Mel Fisher had 3 core beliefs. It was there. He was going to find it. It was going to be worth it. You got to go all in on, are they there? Are you the guy, the gal that's going to build the trust and be able to get buy-in from them so that you can help them? And then number three, it's got to be, if you do that, it's going to take more time and more effort than you anticipate, that I can guarantee. Will it be worth it? And if that's the case, you go all in. Don't do the 90-day experiment thing. That's not the way to do it. You got to go all in. Mel Fisher 101, 17 freaking years without finding the treasure. And he still got up. And that last day, he didn't know, and he got up. What if he gave up on that day, right? And from last week, define exactly what you want in a big, big way. And I think you'll get provided, all the things that you need, like that feedback loop will take care of itself, and the changes required to get there will just organically happen. Instead of something that you're thinking about, well, all of a sudden makes sense. And circumstances change. You just use your feedback loop to keep going around and around and around. And always remember, you got to give up to get. I'm sorry. Again, on a daily email I wrote recently, something to the effect of, don't write down what you want, write down what you're willing to sacrifice. And let me tell you, if you want to go and you want to get, some coaching clients, and you want to do it in a record time, and you want to be the 250, 500,000, 750,000, or get unicorn status in the coaching space, do $1 million a year as a business coach, there's things that you're going to have to give up, and a lot of those are, your feelings. You're going to go to a networking function and feel like a dum-dum. You're going to do a local live event and only have 2 or 3 people show up when you expected 15, and there's going to be somebody and you're going to feel like, that makes you look silly. But guess what? You got to give up those feelings in order to get the big prize. But when you get the big prize, guess what? It's going to be worth it. At least that's my opinion. I cannot speak on your behalf, so you got to think that through. Is it going to be worth it? Right? Anyways, shoots. Yeah, I love that. Look, it's going all in. Are the business owners there? Are you going to be the one that's going to get buy-in from them? Is it going to be worth it? Answer those 3 questions. If they get the right answers, not from your head, because we all know what you say with your head and your mouth. I want to go to your gut, to your soul, to your inner being, and say, is this it? So anyway, Chiefs, what do you think?
Hey, real quick, you said your greatest weakness is your, what's the word there, turned up too loud.
Your greatest strength turned up too loud. Yeah. Your greatest weakness is often your greatest strength turned up too loud. It's the guy that's super funny and then just goes over the top, right? You and I know a couple of those, by the way, so there we go.
Yeah, we certainly do know that. Hey, listen, I know we got to close out here. We'll close out with this one thing maybe, and because you're really talking about falling in love with the process, and I don't want to discourage anyone, because it's not going to take you 17 years to land clients, because you could land a client today. And that's where, for me, I've always found my best, the happiest weeks are the ones where I'm doing live events, because I know that I can close on the spot. Right? Like, it's one of those, I do an event in the morning and I have the cash in my account in the afternoon. It is possible, folks. But let's just go with that, Karl, because I think the number one issue that most business coaches have is getting new clients. What is the first thing they need to fall in love with?
Okay, you're asking me that? I'm answering that?
Yep, 100%.
Your marketing must impact 10 times as many people as your coaching could ever do. So fall in love with the process of getting, let's just assume you're going to follow Road Dog's advice and do a local live event, which is a great idea. Fall in love with picking up the phone and speaking to people. Like, if you see it as you're picking up the phone and selling to people, you're not going to have a good time. Fall in love with the fact that you're literally talking to business owners. You get them on the phone and you've got the opportunity, whether they come to your event or not, to impact them in a very real and tangible way. Fall in love with those conversations, and then fall in love with inviting them to your event, and then fall in love with talking about the people of the past that have been to the events and the successes that they've had, and then fall in love with practicing your opening, your jokes, your impactful statements, your close, etc. You know what I mean? Fall in love with that. Practice. Again, you got to, by the way, when you got to practice a professional, you got to practice to improve. Don't practice to practice. You got to practice to improve, right? So again, Tony Robbins has talked about this for years. He does UPW. He's done it like, I don't even know, hundreds of times, right? Over many, many, many decades. And like, he still goes home after the first night. He practices and he tweaks and he makes notes. And then after the second night, the third night, and then when it's all over on day 4, guess what? He's where he doesn't wait a week. He does it when it's top of mind, and he comes up with ways that he can improve it the following, like in 6 months from now when he does the next event, right? So fall in love with that. Fall in love with practicing. I bet you do a local live event and you pretend like you practice, but you don't. And then I'm going to suggest that you're disrespecting your audience by not practicing, because then you're ultimately not giving them the best presentation. If they're taking the time out of their day to drive down, pay for parking, come in, spend 2 hours away from the office, away from their wife, away from their husband, away from their family, away from their clients, away from their business, you owe them your best. Well, deliver it. So anyway, that's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. All right, folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man of the hour, of course, and the king of the Caribbean, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, you want to learn more about profit acceleration software, flash coaching, like the list goes on and on, folks. Anything to grow and scale your business coaching practice, go to focused.com, subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it. And please leave us a review, as, hey, we like to hear nice things too from time to time, and we know that it helps us with the rankings as well. That is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. Keep the questions coming. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.